As I've mentioned before in previous videos, I am a huge fan of Halo. Halo is one of the few video game franchises where I replayed the entire series at least once a year. Because of this, I have obviously been keeping in touch with all the news surrounding the Halo 1 remake called Halo Campaign Evolved. Kind of silly name if you ask me, by the way. In the last few days, I have watched the community split into two sides over this game. One side seemingly being hardline positive and the other side being hardline negative towards the game. I think both sides have some good opinions, and I also think they have some bad points. And in this video, I wanted to inspect both sides of this anal cavity and maybe stick my tongue in there and give it some of my own thoughts. Now, before getting too far into the video, I first want to mention that this video isn't going to be filled with me complaining about sprint, being able to ADS with every weapon, and a full seat on the Warthog being added, but due to these being big talking points in the community, I do want to briefly mention them. Starting off with sprint, the main complaint here is that the original game obviously didn't have it, and I talked about this in a previous video actually. In that video, I stated that sprint is obviously something that needs to be accommodated for when designing a game, meaning if sprinting allows you to move, say, 30% faster, you must make the level design feel natural to sprint around in, meaning that the levels need to be bigger. Otherwise, it may feel like you're moving through that level unnaturally fast. On the flip side of that, if you make a level too big and don't have a sprint feature, traversing that level is going to feel very sluggish and slow. Now, because this game is a remake, I normally would say that I don't care about them adding a sprint feature. However, from what I have heard from people who have gotten to play early builds of the game, the levels feel around the same size as they did in the original. And interestingly, there is a setting to disable sprint. It seems like they are trying to appease both sides of the sprint debate, and I haven't played the game myself, so I might be completely wrong by saying this, but I do not see how you can have both and make both feel good at the same time. With ADS being added, I think if they handle it the way Halo 5 and Infinite did, where you can still get de-scoped, it'll be fine. And I genuinely don't understand why people are complaining about the fourth seat on the Warthog. It sounds like a fun addition, being able to squat up with the fellows all on the one Warthog. Another thing that I've been seeing people argue about that I think is a pretty mundane argument, like the stuff I just talked about before, is the PS5 release for the game. Now, I don't like console exclusives anyway, and never have. I think all games should be able to be played on any console by anyone, so I actually don't mind this decision. However, there is a large subsect of the Halo community that is very vocal about this game staying as an Xbox exclusive like its predecessors, and I just don't understand why. The only reason I can think of that people think like this is that they are console war brains that are on Xbox's side and think this game may save the Xbox brand. But Xbox have made so many bad decisions recently that I don't think one exclusive is going to make people sell their PlayStations and buy an Xbox. Just to list a few of these baffling decisions Xbox has made: having major layoffs, closing down some of their most prestigious studios for seemingly no reason, and most recently upping the prices of consoles and Game Pass. So yeah, I think Xbox is just dragging their own name through the mud, and there is no saving them at this point. Now, everything I've talked about so far have mainly been opinions from the more negative side of the remake. So now I'm going to go over some opinions of the people that are more positive towards it. The main two things I hear from this side of the debate are the reasons for the title of this video, by the way. The main two arguments I see from these are that it's not 343 making the game, it's Halo Studios are completely different studio, meaning it should be better. Or they quite simply say that they don't understand why people are whining about sprint and ADS and that the game looks good, so why complain? First off, Halo Studios is 343. This isn't a new studio, these are still the same people that have been making Halo since Bungie left the franchise. The only thing that has changed with the rebrand is that some of the people in upper management got shuffled around, so that may lead to some better quality games, but ultimately these are the same people. This obviously makes this a moot point when people say this is a new studio, but I don't think people say this to spread misinformation. I think Halo Studios has been very silent about this fact, which has probably led these people to just assume it's a new studio. I personally think Halo Studios are trying to pull some sort of smoke and mirrors bullshit to try and separate themselves from the 343 Industries name. The other point these people make is that the game's marketing looks good, so why are you guys complaining? And to that I have to say Halo 4, 5 and Infinite all had great marketing, and all of those games have fatal flaws that cause this rift in the fan base that this whole video is talking about. Halo 5's story marketing is notorious for not having anything to do with the story in game. Honestly, you could probably make a serious legal case for false advertising against 343 in regards to the game's campaign trailers. This point I've heard people make was the catalyst to me making this video, not only because of Halo's history with misleading marketing, but also the general state of gaming where you aren't fully guaranteed a finished game on launch anymore. That should be more than enough reason to make people skeptical. Now before I end the video, I have two more points that I think both sides of this argument can agree on. My first point being that this remake is repeating some of the mistakes that the Anniversary Edition remaster made, the main one being reusing assets from a different Halo game. Now, if you don't know, Anniversary Edition reused a lot of Halo Reach's assets, and this made the game look horrible. In Halo Reach, Bungie redesigned the elites, making them taller and slightly bulkier, and the Anniversary Edition tried to shove these assets to make them fit into the Halo 1 hitboxes, leading the elites to look very ugly. Hunters in particular also suffered a similar fate, and this decision received backlash from the fans. In Campaign Evolved, it seems that they are reusing assets from Halo Infinite. Whilst I will admit this looks better than Anniversary Edition, they are still taking assets from a game with a different art style to Halo 1 and trying to make it fit. This ultimately makes the game look more like a fan remake rather than an actual AAA developed one. And also, the game is being advertised as a remake, so why not just remake it from the ground up like it's being advertised? This leads back to the misleading marketing point that I was talking about earlier. And for my final point in this video, the use of generative AI. I think most people can agree that AI is nowhere near the point where it should be commonly used in anything. And even if it was, I consider video games art, and the use of AI takes away from the art of making a game. I don't know to what extent they've used AI in this game, but ever since I've heard that they've used it, I have had a very off feeling about every bit of art, cinematic, and gameplay that has been used as advertisement for the game. Now, I will admit this may be some sort of AI paranoia I've developed somehow, and I may be overreacting a bit, but I just can't help it. I just can't shake that funny feeling, you know? Anyway, when Campaign Evolved releases, I will probably do an analysis video of both the original and the remake. But for now, that's it for today's video. Bye.